Have you ever wondered what would happen if a group of arrogant college athletes decided to target someone just because he was black? What if the quiet new guy they thought would crumble wasn't weak at all, but carried a strength they couldn't even imagine? Would they back down when they saw the fire in his eyes? Or would their pride and prejudice push them into a mistake they'd regret forever? Today, in broad daylight, under the gaze of those who once laughed at him. They're about to learn not every quiet soul can be
Miles
broken,
kept his head
and not
down
every
as he
skin
walked
color
across
bows
the
to
Westbridge
fear.
High
Courtyard, the late afternoon sun throwing long shadows over the basketball courts. His backpack hung low, one strap torn and barely holding together. He wore a plain gray hoodie jeans scuffed at the knees and sneakers that had seen better days. His quiet, almost invisible presence might have passed unnoticed if not for Chase. Leaning casually against a bench, Chase nudged Logan with his elbow, smirking. "Check it out," he said loud enough for nearby students to hear. "New kid's already got that fresh out of the projects vibe." Logan chuckled, tossing a football from hand to hand. "Bet he thinks we're handing out food stamps." He snorted. Their laughter rang sharp in the open air. Miles didn't react. He just kept walking, his face unreadable, but his hands clenched tighter around his backpack straps. "Hey!" Chase called out, taking a few lazy steps toward him. "Where you headed, bro? Thought this was Westbridge, not the ghetto." A few students nearby shifted uncomfortably, but didn't say a word. A couple even pulled out their phones, sensing a scene coming. Miles stopped. Slowly he turned to face them, his eyes dark and steady, locked onto Chase's without blinking. There was no anger, no fear, just something cold and patient, like a storm gathering in silence. Chase held his arms out theatrically. "Come on, man, smile. We're just trying to welcome you." His voice dripped with fake warmth. Logan and Sienna joined him, laughing too loud, each word coated in mockery. Miles said nothing. He turned back around, moving to leave. Wrong move. Chase closed the gap quickly, giving Miles a hard shove on the shoulder. "Hey, don't be rude when someone talks to you," he said, grinning like a predator. Cornering prey, Miles stumbled a step forward but caught himself. He stood very still for a moment, his back to them. The air tightened around the courtyard. Conversations dulled. Even the breeze seemed to pause. "You deaf or what?" Logan sneered. Sienna's phone was already raised, recording. For a second, it looked like Miles might just keep walking. Then he slowly turned again, his backpack sliding from his shoulders to the ground, with a soft thud. His eyes stayed locked on Chase's calm, icy, "I heard you," Miles said, voice low, steady, cutting through the tension like a blade. "I just didn't think it was worth answering." Chase's grin faltered for half a second before he barked a laugh. "Ooh, big talk from the new kid. You sure you know what you're getting into?" Miles didn't move, didn't blink. The silence pressed in heavy and hot. Logan shifted beside Chase, impatient. "Forget it, man. Waste of time. He's not gonna do anything." Chase glanced around, seeing the small crowd growing. His ego flared. He needed a bigger reaction. Something he could laugh about later. He shoved Miles again, harder this time. Miles didn't stumble. He stood solid as stone. That night, Chase sat with Logan and Sienna on the stone steps behind the gym, lit only by the flicker of Logan's lighter. "I'm telling you," Chase said, voice low and sharp, "we can't let him just walk away like that. Not after making me look like an idiot." "He didn't even touch you," Sienna muttered, pulling her jacket tighter. "You shoved him." "Doesn't matter," Chase snapped. "He embarrassed me. That look he gave, like he wasn't even scared, like he was judging us." Logan grunted, flipping the lighter open and shut. "So what, you want to jump him?" Chase leaned in, eyes gleaming. "Know something better. We mess with him, make sure everyone sees what he really is, a nobody who thinks he's tough." Sienna hesitated. "What's the plan?" Chase smirked. "Tomorrow after school parking lot, we call him out, cameras rolling. Make him lose it, make him swing first. We humiliate him, not the other way around." Logan nodded, half smiling. "Yeah, Teach him how things work around here. Sienna chewed her lip, but said nothing more. It was already decided. The next day, word spread like wildfire. Showdown after school. Someone whispered in the hallways, phones buzzed with messages. Parking lot 4 p.m. New Kid versus Chase. Miles sat alone at lunch, quietly eating, pretending not to notice the stares. He heard the whispers, felt the glances, he knew. When the final bell rang, Miles packed his bag slowly, methodically. He zipped it closed, slung it over his shoulder, and walked straight to the parking lot. The crowd was already forming. Students leaned against cars perched on hoods, phones ready in hand. Chase stood in the middle, pacing like a boxer warming up before a fight. Logan and Sienna flanked him smirking. As Miles approached the crowd, parted slightly, buzzing with tension. "There he is!" Chase called loud enough for everyone to hear. "Thought you might chicken out." Miles stopped a few steps away. His face was calm, unreadable. "I didn't come here to fight," he said evenly. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried. Chase laughed and stepped closer, chest puffed out. "Too late for that, hero. You embarrassed me yesterday, you gotta pay for that." Miles dropped his bag to the ground again, slowly, deliberately. His hands stayed open at his sides. "I don't want trouble," he said quietly. Logan tossed a water bottle at Miles's feet. Maybe he's scared. Maybe he's not as tough as he acts. Chase circled Miles, poking him in the back with 2 fingers. "You act like you're better than us. You think just 'cause you keep quiet you're some kind of badass?" Miles didn't move, didn't react. The crowd edged closer. Phones held higher. Chase shoved Miles again, this time harder. Miles took a half step back but stayed upright. One more shove. Miles's eyes lifted steady. Unblinking, "Don't," Miles said. His voice barely above a whisper, but it sliced through the noise like thunder. Chase sneered, raising his hand to shove him again. This time he wouldn't get the chance. Chase lunged at Miles without warning, fists swinging wild. Miles moved, a sharp sidestep, calm, calculated. Chase stumbled past him, losing balance. Miles caught Chase's wrist, midair, his grip like iron. A quick twist, merciless, efficient, and Chase's body flipped, crashing onto the asphalt with a jarring thud. Gasps erupted. Someone dropped their phone. Chase groaned, blinking up at the sky, dazed. Miles stepped back, loose eyes, cold and steady weight, balanced on the balls of his feet. Logan cursed and charged fists clenched tight. Miles ducked low, feeling the air split above him. He pivoted smoothly, catching Logan's elbow and ramming a sharp shoulder into his ribs. Logan crumpled against a nearby car, breath knocked clean from his lungs. The crowd shrank back instinctively. Miles straightened slow and deliberate, scanning the faces around him. No anger, no fear. Just a deadly stillness, like a storm waiting to break. Chase staggered to his feet, rage twisting his face. He grabbed a metal rod from the ground, white-knuckled. "Miles." Sienna screamed. Chase swung. Miles didn't retreat. He stepped in fast, catching Chase's wrist clean out of the air. A sharp crack echoed as the rod fell from Chase's grip, clattering uselessly to the pavement. Without hesitation, Miles dropped low, swept Chase's legs, and slammed him flat on his back. Harder this time, Chase lay there gasping for air, pain etched across his features. Miles stood over him, breathing steady, fists unclenched. He didn't look victorious, he looked disappointed. "I told you," Miles said, voice low, razor-sharp, "don't." Silence swallowed the parking lot. Even the phones stopped recording for a second. Logan pushed off the car, wiping blood from his lip, fury flashing in his eyes. "Get him!" he roared, voice cracking. 2 more guys from the crowd hesitated, then rushed forward, emboldened by Logan's scream. Miles didn't wait. The first guy lunged. Miles slipped under his swing, driving his shoulder into the kid's gut. The boy folded, gasping, crumpling to the pavement. The second swung a wild punch. Miles caught his wrist, mid-swing, yanked him forward and slammed a knee into his chest. The boy staggered backward, clutching his ribs. Logan came again, slower this time. Eyes flicking with uncertainty, Miles faced him squarely, feet planted. No fear, no retreat. "You sure you want to do this?" Miles asked, voice, even almost soft. Logan hesitated, a crack in his bravado. Chase groaned somewhere behind him, still sprawled on the asphalt. A ripple of unease ran through the crowd. Phones wavered. A few students backed away, muttering under their breath. Logan grit his teeth, forcing himself forward. He swung a heavy right hook. Miles ducked effortlessly, sidestepping in the same breath. With precise speed, he swept Logan's legs from under him. Logan hit the ground hard, the air leaving his lungs in a stunned grunt. Miles stood over him, breathing steady, not gloating, just done. "Stay down," Miles said, quietly. Logan didn't argue. He lay there, humiliated, chest heaving. Sienna clutched her phone tightly, recording everything with trembling hands. Her earlier smugness was gone, replaced by open fear. The rest of the crowd was frozen, unsure whether to stay run or pretend they hadn't cheered for Chase 5 minutes ago. Miles bent down, picked up his backpack, and slung it over his shoulder without hurry. The movement was so casual, it made everything that had just happened seem even more terrifying. He glanced around once calmly, his gaze sweeping the stunned faces. "Anyone else?" he asked, voice soft but razor-sharp. No one answered. The heavy silence stretched. Miles gave a small nod, almost to himself, then turned and walked away, moving through the parted crowd like a ghost cutting through mist. Nobody tried to stop him. Not this time. Phones lifted higher. Screens gleamed in the fading light. Someone whispered, "Is this real?" Videos rolled, live streams, snaps, TikToks, shaky Instagram lives. Within seconds, dozens of clips flooded out. Westbridge kid knocks out Bullies. New black kid wrecks Chase and Logan. Dude's a freaking ninja. The crowd, which had been frozen in stunned silence, now buzzed with frantic energy. Some laughed nervously. Others backed away, clutching their phones like lifelines. Sienna lowered her camera slowly, her face pale. "He's trained," she whispered almost to herself. Miles didn't look at anyone. He kept walking toward the exit steps, steady face, unreadable. Every few feet, students stumbled out of his way without thinking. Behind him, Chase lay coughing weakly on the ground. Logan sat hunched over, holding his ribs, face flushed with rage and humiliation. "Yo," someone from the football team called after Miles, half laughing, half nervous. You some kind of fighter or something?" Miles didn't answer. He just kept walking, slipping between cars toward the school gate. The whispers followed him like ripples after a stone. "Bro's dangerous. Bet he could take Coach down. Man, did you see how fast he moved?" No one cheered for Chase anymore. No one even looked at him. Chase sat up slowly, his face twisted with hate, his hands curled into fists. But he didn't stand. Not tonight. Sienna turned off her phone, biting her lip hard enough to leave a mark. Beside her, Logan muttered, "This ain't over." But even he sounded like he didn't believe it. Miles reached the gate. For a moment, he paused, one hand on the cool metal. He didn't look back. Not once, and then he was gone. Swallowed by the dusk, leaving only silence and a storm brewing far beyond the parking lot. By the time Miles walked home that evening, the videos had already gone viral. Footage of Chase getting flipped onto the asphalt played on every social media platform within minutes. Different angles, shaky footage, clipped audio, but the message was the same. New kid schools the bullies. Westbridge's king gets dethroned. This guy's a weapon. At first, the comments were jokes. "Damn, he folded Chase like laundry. Bro didn't even sweat." But by midnight, the tone shifted. Screenshots surfaced Chase's past bullying incidents, racist jokes posted on old accounts, clips of Logan mocking others at pep rallies. Westbridge wasn't laughing anymore. They were judging hard. At school the next morning, The air crackled with tension. Clusters of students huddled by lockers, whispering phones flashing under jackets. Miles moved through the halls like a ripple through still water. Where once there had been jeers and mocking glances, now there were wide eyes, hurried whispers, and heads turning away. Chase wasn't in first period. Neither was Logan. Sienna sat stiffly at the back of class, chewing her lip, her phone face down on the desk. She didn't look up when Miles entered. Whispers chased him down every corridor. That's him. Man, I wouldn't mess with him. He took out 3 guys like it was nothing. Miles kept his head down, moving with deliberate calm. No swagger, no smirk, just steady steps, just breathing. During lunch, an announcement crackled over the intercom. Chase Darnell and Logan Price, please report to the principal's office immediately. The cafeteria fell into a low, buzzing silence. Miles sat alone by the windows, picking at his sandwich, pretending not to hear. But his hands stayed clenched on the table, muscles tight. A group of students from the football team threw occasional glances his way. Some wary, some curious, none openly hostile. He was no longer invisible. He was dangerous, and everyone knew it. Miles was halfway through his sandwich when the second announcement came. Miles Carter, please report to the principal's office. The cafeteria went dead silent. All eyes turned. Miles stood up slowly, slinging his backpack over one shoulder. He didn't rush. He didn't look at anyone. As he walked, students parted wordlessly, creating a narrow path like water breaking around a stone. No one dared whisper this time. The principal's office was a cramped space, lined with dusty trophies and faded certificates. Behind the desk sat Principal Reynolds, an aging man with sharp eyes and a permanent frown. Beside him, the vice principal, Mr. Harden, tapped a pen against a file labeled Incident Report. Chase and Logan were already there, slouched in stiff chairs, faces pale and drawn. Chase's right wrist was wrapped in a makeshift brace. Logan had a darkening bruise across his cheekbone. Miles entered quietly, shutting the door behind him with a soft click. "Have a seat, Mr. Carter." Reynolds' said voice clipped. Miles sat, posture straight, hands resting calmly in his lap. Harden cleared his throat, flipping open the file. "We've reviewed multiple videos." He began, interviews with witnesses, camera footage from the parking lot. He glanced at Miles' expression, unreadable. "It's clear that you were provoked. Multiple times. You acted in self-defense." Miles said nothing. He didn't need to, but Reynolds cut in, steepling his fingers. "Westbridge has a reputation to uphold public brawls, regardless of context, reflect poorly on all involved." Miles lifted his eyes, meeting Reynolds' gaze squarely. "I didn't start it," he said, voice low but steady. "No," Reynolds admitted, "you didn't." There was a long, heavy pause. Then Reynolds turned to Chase and Logan. "You two are suspended 2 weeks. Immediate effect." Logan gaped. "What, he hit us?" "You assaulted him first," Harden said bluntly. "We have it all on tape." Chase's face twisted with fury, but he didn't argue. Not here, not now. Reynolds shifted back toward Miles, his tone softening slightly. "As for you, Mr. Carter," he said, "no suspension, but I'd advise discretion moving forward. We don't want a repeat incident." Miles gave a small nod. Short, controlled. "I didn't come here to cause trouble," he said quietly. For the first time, something flickered across Reynolds' face. "Not suspicion. Respect. You're dismissed," Reynolds said. After a beat, Miles stood giving Chase and Logan one last look, not with hatred, not with triumph, just silence. And then he walked out, shoulders squared, steps steady. Outside the office, a few students lingered in the hallway pretending to check their lockers. When Miles passed, they stepped back without thinking. He wasn't just the new kid anymore. He was something else entirely. The afternoon sun dipped low, casting long shadows over the empty bleachers. Miles sat alone near the top row elbows, resting on his knees, staring out across the deserted football field. For the first time all day, there was no buzzing of phones, no whispers trailing his every step, just the low hum of wind across the grass and the distant clatter of a maintenance cart. He exhaled slowly, the tension leaving his body one knot at a time. His knuckles were still scraped raw. His shoulder ached from where he'd twisted during the fight. But none of that bothered him. It was the silence inside that mattered most now. Heavy, but clean. He didn't regret defending himself, but a small part of him quiet. Stubborn wished he hadn't needed to. Miles ran a hand over his face, feeling the weight of everything that had happened crash down at once. He was tired, bone-deep tired. Not just from fighting, from carrying battles no one else could see. Footsteps echoed on the metal stairs behind him. Miles didn't move. He heard them approach, slow and hesitant. "Hey!" a voice said, rough but not unfriendly. He turned slightly. It was Bryce, team captain of the Westbridge football team, known more for his ego than his kindness. Bryce scratched the back of his head awkwardly. A few other players lingered behind him, hovering at a cautious distance. "So, Bryce said, clearing his throat, "we got tryouts next week. Coach said, hey, we could use someone like you." He kicked a loose pebble down the bleachers, not meeting Miles' eyes. "You know, if you're interested?" Miles watched him for a moment, unreadable. Behind Bryce, a few of the players shifted, some nodding, some just waiting. No jokes, no sneers, not today. Miles gave a small, dry chuckle under his breath. It wasn't much, but it was real. He stood up, stretching slowly, feeling the pull in his muscles. "Maybe," he said. Bryce grinned, relieved. The group backed away, giving Miles space to descend. He picked up his bag, slinging it over his shoulder. As he walked down the bleachers, the sun dipped lower, painting the field in a soft golden haze. At the bottom, Miles paused, glancing back once at the empty stands. He smiled just a little. They thought he was nothing. Turns out, he was just getting started.